Incoming chat.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our retro episode of Incoming Chat. This is a bonus episode that we wanted to put together to share some of the things that we learned and some of the things that we did during this process, and how lucky I was to interview these 9 people throughout this couple of months. But I wanted to start by telling you a little bit on how did we start with recording this podcast, Incoming Chat. We obviously listened to tons of other podcasts before just to find the right way for us to put one together. I had experience before having a short podcast with Divante, which is an e-commerce company. But this time we wanted to do something more personal, more engaging and talking directly to you there. And we noticed that most of the podcasts related to sales and marketing, they tend to interview the people who made it. So you can learn from them or how they made it to that spot. But we wanted to try to twist it a little bit. So what can we do different? What can we do that is relatively more unique? And we decided to interview people who were not there yet, people who didn't make it all the way, but they're fighting every day to do that, to get there. People who are building business every day. People who are struggling and with failures and successes and a combination of all of that, and hopefully bring you something that you can relate to. So if you're building a business, we wanted to listen to people who are just like you, people who are fighting every day to get it done. And I was lucky enough to interview or have a chat with 9 amazing people that I knew most of them from before, some of them more, some of them less, but these were people that I met in different occasions, different events, different countries. And I felt that there were great stories to be told. And I was lucky enough to interview them face to face as well. So I invited them and they all agree and they were all happy to share their stories. So I wanted to share a little bit of what I learned personally from each one of them. My first guest during the season was Jack Thompson. Jack is a very close friend, and I met Jack ages ago when he was he had a language school, and that was part of one of these entrepreneurship things that people do. But Jack left. Jack is from the UK, and he left his country to literally cut lamb's balls. He was not a butcher, but he was working in a farm in Romania doing that. This is many years ago. And right now, Jack is part of one of the biggest venture companies in the UK. He is handling millions of pounds, investing of hundreds of startups, making sure that the companies make it, make sure they have a proper business plan. So the story of Jack, it was, to me, he's always been very inspiring. He's still very young, and the place that he is now is I envy the position that he is right now, because he gets to see how this business are created from the beginning till the end, till they get fully funded and beyond, even to follow what this business are doing and how are they going to take different avenues or changing the business model or whatever. And he's responsible for making sure that this business also have a return. They make money for the investors. So having Jack in the show was great in order to tell people that there's still money in the world for your startup. If you're creating something, there are plenty of people willing to invest in your dream. But for that, you need to have something important, something valuable to give. Jack was talking about millions of dollars into sustainable companies, and I'm talking more into the environmental sustainability. So his focus right now is into how can we put money into companies that are giving something back to the planet, but they're still making money. So it's not just out of the love of creating business, it's also about making money. It's about giving something back to the planet and make sure that these companies work. It was interesting also to talk with Jack about Brexit and how business will prevail. Whatever happened with Brexit, business are still going to be very active, and people with money in the UK, they'll still be very willing to put money into startups. So the business is still open, and Brexit, apparently, by what Jack was telling us, is that it's not really going to affect the dream of many startups to get invested, especially from people in the UK or from money from the UK. Jack is doing great right now, and we're still in touch, and I hope to have him back. And hopefully, I'm going to travel to London to interview him again and see what's happening over there after Brexit. Oh, just so you know, we started recording all of these episodes before the coronavirus. So the attitudes that we have for more than half of the episodes that we put out, it was a very pre-COVID attitude that we didn't know what was going to happen. And you will notice when we started changing our tone and when things started changing. A lot of the plans that these people had, they were trumped, and they had to recreate or reinvent themselves into something new or something better or something different. My second guest in the season was Mika Hapara. Mika was originally from Australia, but he has Polish parents, so he's half Polish, half Australian. He speaks perfect Polish. And I met Mika working with Techland when we put out together Dying Light: The Following, which is an amazing game. Go and check it out. And I was always attracted by the approach that Mika have to marketing. Mika is, his area is social media, and the way he chooses a very specific voice that's still his voice for different kind of games is very special. And the process that he goes through to talk about, for example, if you're dealing with a very violent game or a very pink and rainbows game, he will find the right tone. But the magic of the way that he works is that he uses his own voice, his own experience into creating the right tone and style for a brand, for a game in this case. So looking at the stuff that he does in social media is pretty amazing. I mean, he's dealing with a lot of games nowadays. He has a company called 3233, which is totally worth the time to go and check out what they do. And pay attention on the way he describes games. He talks like a gamer because he is a gamer. And I don't mean that you have to be a certain kind of person to talk about certain subjects, but when you come from this place of knowledge, you can tell when someone is talking from gamer to gamer. And that's what happened with Mika. And I learned a lot from him, even though his experience was around the same level than mine. His approach is something that I envy as well. It's something that I use a lot now. If I'm going to talk about some subject that I'm barely related, I will use my own voice as Marcos talking about this subject, and I will for sure let people know when I know about something and when I don't know enough about something. Because that authenticity, it breaks a lot of barriers, and people can see through when you're being full of shit or not. So I really encourage you to go and check some of the work that Mika has done. Episode 3 was a great one. I had the pleasure to interview Chia Luen Lee. Chia is she is sort of the video host, also sort of a brand ambassador of Brand24, which is one of the biggest companies in Poland, or one of the most successful and known companies in Poland. Brand24 is a social listening tool, amazing tool if you're marketing. And we talked with Chia about something similar that we're doing, which is being the face of a brand. I got this gig with live chat of creating this video strategy and being the face of most of the videos and the voice of this podcast as well. And Chia was in a very similar position. Even she started way before I did into creating videos. And it's so crazy to see Chia's attitude on camera and behind. I mean, she's a shy person, and seeing the attitude that she takes in front of the camera, and with the videos and courses that she creates, it was a great conversation about how to deal with these things, especially when you want to create video, which is something a lot of companies are doing right now. How do you start? What is the process behind and the flow? One of the things that Chia said during our interviews was just don't pay attention to the comments, because a lot of people will not like what you do. It doesn't matter what you do. And this is something that is applicable to everywhere in marketing, is you're never going to make everyone happy. Just make sure that you talk to the right people in the right tone and forget about the rest. If the people that you really want to listen to what you have to say are listening and are paying attention, your job is done. Again, I think I saw it in Wreck-It Ralph as well. Do not read the comments. It's very discouraging. And I've been there too, is having to get different opinions about what you have to say. And when sometimes you don't get them in a nice way, is a bit discouraging and a bit, it doesn't matter how much experience you have, it will always affect the way you do things and your mood. But you got to keep going. You got to keep going. And with Chia, that's what we talk about during that episode, is about how you create video and you put yourself as the face of a brand, with all the good things that brings and all the bad things that can bring. Episode 4, we invited Alex Wilson. Alex is part of our company, LiveChat, and he, even though he's very young, he took the role of a VP of sales, which is a big deal because our company reached over 30,000 customers with no proper sales team or strategy. There was a great product, but not a very, and they might not like me for this, but not a very well thought sales strategy behind. So Alex took over that role, and we had a great discussion of how to create a sales team that does their job well. And one of the things that I always, when I interview American people, I always mention, and I mentioned it also with Alex, is that American people are born into this, and this is not in the wrong way, and in this capitalist way of thinking. And the best example is the lemonade stands. When parents encourage the kids, so like, well, you want to make some money, go and put your lemonade stand, and let's see how it goes. And we had a discussion about that, and Alex had a very good experience working on his parents in the US and understanding the customer from behind the counter. So from a little boy, he knew that there's certain things that he can do to make people happy in the business area. And Alex has been doing great lately too. He set up an amazing team, and he's always focused on keep training them and finding the right live chat way. And even though he values a lot the opinion and personalities of each person in his team, his way to approach sales as the right product for the right people is great. And you can probably, and you will start seeing it in our advertising and the way, the language that we use in order to describe what we have to offer. And that's a lot of the influence from Alex. Again, Alex is, when we did this episode, it was right before he became a dad, and now he's very busy changing diapers, but still working very hard. One of my favorite episodes was the one after that with Gaston Sibon, French-American guy. He's from Chicago. He came to Poland because why not? And we have a great conversation. And he was a huge inspiration for me to take a leap of faith, to do things that I wasn't sure if they're going to work. But seeing him dropping a great job in the corpo for starting his own coffee brand. And you probably think he's crazy considering the amount of coffee brands that there are around. But when I saw him and I heard his story about, well, you got to do what you got to do. And it was a huge inspiration. And seeing what he accomplished in only a few years, creating his own brand and putting himself as the face of that brand, it was great. What happened with the virus as well, it was sort of kind of suck. obviously, because he was selling to a lot of offices and with people working remote, Gaston didn't have the chance anymore to sell as much coffee as he could. But I'm very happy that he bounced back, opening his own food delivery service in the area, and he's doing amazingly. I mean, his marketing and his approach to, I understand your problem. I have the best food, organic, vegan, whatever you need, and I'll deliver it in the day. Or if I have to send it over, you'll get it the next day. He pivoted to that so quickly and so successfully that I'm very happy that he's still around doing business. The COVID situation affected his whole coffee business so much, but right now with what he's doing with the food delivery business is amazing. And that's the sort of the mindset that I really appreciate and I really admire from Gaston, is the how he was able to move up and down just to create something else and never stop. Things for other people has been different as well. I mean, there are a lot of businesses that they've been closing, a lot of businesses that they've been doing great. We're lucky to be one of those. And considering the fact that we went through a whole rebranding process during the COVID, I wanted to have someone in the show that it will talk design. And I invited Pari Sunday. Pari is from India, lived in the UK many years, and we got to sit down and talk design and talk about how important design is for companies, not only for the pretty pictures that they put out, which is what people sometimes think of design, but also for the branding and the image and the messaging. I mean, design is a huge part of what you are as a brand. And Pari helped us out to understand a little bit better of what is the process behind, especially when you're a freelancer. What is the process behind working with a company, trying to figure out their identity, their logo, their colors, and from there, how that turns out into a message, into a voice. The work that Pari has done is really nice. You can probably go and check his. I'm going to add the website in the details. But also Pari has created his own business too on the side. I mean, he has an amazing website selling bow ties, which it was funny the first time I saw it until I needed a bow tie, and it's a great gift. He has amazing designs on the bow ties. He also creates personalized chocolate boxes. I mean, he's all over the place, but his vision on design as part of branding, as part of marketing, it was very, very interesting to listen to. When I didn't want to invite too many people from our own company, because I wanted to the podcast to be more of a engaging tool more than as a promotional tool. We never wanted Incoming Chat to become something that is like, oh yeah, they're going to try to sell us a product in the end, and we haven't, and we want to keep it that way. But when I had to invite someone from the company, I wanted someone from the support team. I mean, after all, live chat, it is a support tool. And I invited Kuba Ruskiewicz. I hope I said it right, Kuba. Kuba Ruskiewicz, he came and talked to us about creating a support team and what customer service means for companies. And it's very surprising to hear. Usually you think of customer service as someone who don't really care about your needs. They just want to solve your ticket and move to the next person. But hearing Kuba describing the people on his team, it was very, very special. The way that he truly believes that if you're going to be behind the counter or behind a computer, online or whatever, solving someone's problem, you better care. You better make sure you understand their needs. And when people get to feel that, they will understand also that you care, and the relationship between customers and brands, they will get a lot stronger. Kuba described it as you need to care. You need to make sure that people feels on the other side that you're there for them. And it's an approach that if you're creating your own business and you're not taking care of customer service, you better start, because it will make the whole difference. And that's one of the reasons why we're still in business and we're doing great. So that being said, I want to move to Amanda. Amanda is also American, and she started her own pottery store. I mean, she doesn't teach pottery, but she get people in there to paint their own pottery. She puts them in the oven, and people take them home. It's a great activity for families and kids, but it's about, we talk about the struggle of setting up a company like that. It's not something that, it's not mass consumption. It's something that you have to think about. Well, what can we do this weekend? I'll take the kids to paint some pottery. But the example of Amanda, especially during this COVID time, she also had to adapt. She had a place where people go, and with the COVID, people cannot go in there anymore. So she figured out ways to, okay, whatever, I'll need to reinvent myself because I put my blood and sweat into this company. And she started making these pottery sets that you can buy online. She'll send you paintings, instructions, and then you'll send them back to her. She'll put it in the oven, and you'll get your product finalized and sent home. She's super active with her business, even more now. And I'm happy to say that she's still working fine. And now that the COVID is sort of, at least the restrictions are slowing down, she's back to having her place, and families are going back there. I'm taking my own kids sooner than later to start painting her own teacups. So to listen to how much passion you have to put behind a business, you're going to find that very very inspiring. She works really hard to make sure that business keep moving forward, and it keeps growing. And I'm happy to say that that's the reality of it. It keeps moving, it keeps growing, and I wish her the best as well. And my last guest of the season was Jim Williams. We had a very nice conversation in this very set, which, by the way, this is part of our new studio, and that's why probably this episode sounds a bit better than the previous ones. And with Jim, we had a conversation. I mean, Jim is an entertainer, or how he likes to call it, a joy spreader. And with Jim, we talk about companies as people, and how important it is to foresee the burnout in people. And some of the things he does is to go to companies and try to do these trainings and get people to accept failure. And I know it could sound like some of those cliche workshops that companies make sometimes, but I've seen his work, and is very interesting on the way that he gets people to break and accept that they can fail. And most of his activities are about making them fail. He's also a stand-up comedian, and again, I don't want to get into the COVID subject too much, but because of COVID, he couldn't do his stand-up comedy. So he had to switch, and he created his own business. He became an entrepreneur, and he started making his hot sauces and English muffins and cakes, and started selling them around the area he lives. And he's doing great as well. But one of the most touching things that Jim is doing is the medical clown, which is basically going to hospitals and dealing with kids that sometimes are terminal, and making them happy at least one more time. He spends a lot of time. He's part of an NGO that dedicates their time to make sure that the kids are not alone. They're with someone, and it's something that you should look into it and try to support it somehow, because I've seen the faces of some of those kids that he gets to entertain, and it makes the world of a difference to them, getting these guys to come in the middle of a cold, dark hospital with a red nose and start doing something for them. And the spirit behind that is something that you need to bring up into your own business. I don't have to match everything that I learned with business, but when you care that much about something, that passion shows different results. And seeing Jim being passionate about that and bringing that same passion to everything he does is making a big difference. I mean, his little food entrepreneurship business, whatever you want to call it, is working great, not because the products are great, which they are, but also because he puts the same passion behind that the passion that he puts behind helping kids in different hospitals. So those were the 9 people that I was lucky enough to interview. I mean, I don't want to tell the company that I'm luckier of just because I'm doing this podcast that I get to learn from people who are right there in the front line, people who are building business all the time, people who are seeing the things that affects them and have to move and have to pivot and have to recreate and create things over and over. So this was our retro episode. We wanted to talk about all the things and all of our guests. And I want to invite you to check each one of the episodes because you're going to learn a lot of things from each one of these guys. We're really looking forward to season 2 as well. I'm hoping we're going to have people live. I really don't want to do this online, but we might have to. However, come over. Incoming Chat season 2 is coming soon, and we hope to see you there. Cheers. We really want to hear from you, so make sure you leave a comment in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.
Incoming Chat.